visited Jeff was when I actually started to appreciate his surroundings. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and the sun was shining fiercely, reminding me of picnics past and the many special spots we frequented during the dating years. A young man just home from Vietnam and a 19-year-old girl on our own for the first time. Completely out of place compared to the regimented color palette surrounding me, I spread a Tommy Bahama beach towel, ablaze with bright red hibiscus and golden yellow pineapples, on the dirt above his simple grave. The earth was neatly manicured, raked to perfection, and row after row of identical solid white marble stones blurred into the distance. Propped against his headstone, I felt almost as though he had joined me for my afternoon coffee. He would have loved his concert seat front and center. The road before him carries every funeral procession to the ceremony site, Monday through Friday, every hour on the hour. His view is just feet away from the road on which pass the somber faces of family members and friends. Beautifully adorned young military men and women in their dress blues silently walk behind the glass enclosed casket, the sound of horses' hooves appearing to be the only noise on this path so final. He couldn't possibly have gotten any closer to this show, laid out almost like a great outdoor theater. Jeff and 5 others share the best seat in the house, and it struck me as so fitting. Music was the golden thread in Jeff's life. In 1956, Elvis Presley released his first single, and a quiet 10-year-old little boy from Pasadena, California, found his connection to this world. Jeff was so eager to share, he took his brand new 45 RPM recording of Heartbreak Hotel to class for share and tell. With hardly a chance to drop the needle onto the vinyl, his horrified teacher cut him short, accused him of bringing smut to the class, and promptly, oops, I'm sorry, promptly marched him down to the principal's office. Though embarrassed by suddenly becoming the center of everyone's attention, Jeff Holmes was anointed that day. From that moment on, music played. After graduating high school into the Vietnam War, Jeff chose to join the Marines so as not to get drafted by the Army. He always said it was the toughest of all the branches, and he was ready to become a man. In his absence, his mother kept a close eye on all the new bands being discovered and breaking into the music scene. Once she wrote to him, "There's a new band that's playing on the radio these days. Have you boys heard of a group called The Doors? Do you know who Jim Morrison is?" The Warriors ushered in the world of psychedelic music, though he himself never used drugs or imbibed in much more than a pitcher of beer. Jeff could bring every last drop of enjoyment from a 10-minute drum solo stone cold sober. He devoured the musical genius of bands like Cream and Led Zeppelin, and upon his return, soaked up the sounds of every band in every stadium, every chance he got. By 1969, after serving 2 tours as a machine gunner, Jeff had nothing but a small scar extending down his right thumb, proof of an injury that almost cost him his hand. The real damage, of course, was invisible. Back home, once again living with his parents, neither Jeff nor myself were enrolled in college at the time. Saturday night excursions were spent with groups of friends at dance spots, where frat boys and sorority girls mingled on the dance floor with regular working youngsters for the sole purpose of getting loud and for some behaving badly. Jeff and I met on February 7th, 1969, and I was nervous. Surrounded by lean, modern, accomplished girlfriends, I spent far too much time in agony over my frizzy hair when straight circular was all the rage. Looking in the mirror with disgust at my chubby cheeks when Twiggy was the role model. But nonetheless, there I was in a sawdust-covered beer-smelling establishment in the village of Westwood, near the UCLA campus, called Mom's. It was well into the second set of the evening. I was mingling, pretending, aching to have that I don't care attitude, like other girls who always seem to be so self-assured. Finding a corner table, I served as a watchdog for my girls' friends' purses while they danced. Finally, just to look like I had a destination, I pushed back my chair and started making my way to the ladies' room. Jeff was sitting at a table with a couple friends looking so clean-cut, wearing a navy blue V-neck sweater over a plain white t-shirt, blue jeans, and desert boots. I remember so vividly because he wore the same combination so often after we started dating. I'd find out it was his signature look. I walked right past him on the way to the ladies' room and didn't realize he was watching me. Once I had settled back at my empty table, I noticed him coming over, quiet and unassuming, and there he stood in front of me, smiling, blue eyes brimming with kindness. He bent close so he could be heard above the crowd. Would you like to dance? And the music kept on playing. It was years later, in 1978, that we actually married. An unexpected pregnancy with our first child sealed the commitment, but we never lost our allegiance to rock and roll. To attest, on our son's due date, we ventured out to a Rolling Stones concert in Anaheim, 2 hours away from the hospital in San Diego. We sat on hard, cold, extremely uncomfortable cement bleachers at Dodger Stadium, 9 months pregnant, because we weren't about to miss the mighty Mick Jagger. It turned out I wouldn't go into labor for another 13 days. Jeff and I didn't know if we were relieved or disappointed that he wasn't born at a Stones concert. During our 11-year marriage, Jeff displayed a fair amount of anxieties and fears that perplexed me, shaped our family's environment, and challenged him on a daily basis to keep his demons in check. Our 2 children and I, though unsettled at first, eventually became used to his dream walking and startled expressions in the middle of the night. Crawling through the house on his belly in total darkness, or quietly sneaking up unannounced on family members and friends was puzzling and hard to watch. Medications did little to erase most symptoms, actually creating side effects that were as debilitating as the disorders. Never one to complain, no one knew the depth of his sorrow, his anger, or his suffering. It always pained me that one of the songs he related to since the very beginning of our relationship was Nowhere Man. He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nothing. Darker still were lines he mentioned from the Beatles, Maybe I'm Amazed. Maybe I'm amazed at the way you love me all the time. Maybe I'm afraid of the way I'll leave you. Though divorced for many years, Jeff and I remained good friends and were finding great joy in planning the upcoming renovation to a small home by the beach. After years of deferred maintenance, it had finally fallen into a state of disrepair, almost uninhabitable. Jeff offset the disarray by planting music throughout the house. In every room, radios played all day, every day, creating a constant din of distraction. On one particular afternoon, we indulged in a break at a nearby coffee shop. I carefully placed a hot chai tea to go in the cup holder of my car, concerned it would create a hot, sticky mess should it spill. 1 block from home, approaching the final turn to Jeff's house. We were still chatting about the changes the renovation would bring, when suddenly all our thoughts, plans, words were violently interrupted. Another car slammed into the rear of mine once, twice, 3 times. The real damage, of course, was invisible. A glance towards Jeff confirmed worse. I saw the once laughing best friend beside me revert into a shocked soldier. Are you okay? Are you okay? He asked me. I'm fine, I'm good, I'm not hurt. Are you okay? I knew he was not because I had seen that face before, chasing demons in his sleep, catching him with that altered, far-off look when he thought I wasn't watching. After the police report was taken, Jeff and I returned to the damaged car and drove the final block home to his waiting driveway, fender crushed, muffler clamoring and dragging on the asphalt, the entire interior thick with the aroma of hot, sticky chai tea. 3 days later, his house was torn down to the studs as planned, and he packed just enough belongings to be comfortable at my condo for the duration of the construction. Almost immediately, he became disoriented, finding it necessary to write my name and phone number over and over. He requested I draw him a picture of the washing machine, fearful he would not remember how to select the proper settings if I was not there. He ate standing up, shuffled nervously from room to room, breaking into cold and hot sweats, constantly changing the thermostat to offset the condition of his body heat and side effects created by medications he was taking. An emergency visit to the doctor, a concerning call to a psychiatrist, and a second visit after a week of erratic behavior did nothing to still the mounting fears inside Jeff's head and mind. His doctor said his symptoms should disappear in a couple weeks, were caused by the accident and not by the medications. No x-rays were ordered, and the medical professionals seemed unconcerned. We spent as much of the time together as possible, with Jeff's conversations becoming increasingly nonsensical and spotty. He became obsessed with my vocabulary and how I was describing the items we had chosen for the remodel. In a disturbing, calm monotone, he requested I only use masculine words from that moment on to describe anything that had to do with his house, his belongings, or himself. With clenched teeth and nervously clutching and unclenching his fists, he suddenly informed me he always hated being referred to as sweet and easygoing, and for years was silently angered that he was described in such a manner. He refused to drive his car or venture outside, but the most disturbing symptom of all was the fact there was no noise, no music, no distraction in the form of the ever-present TV or radio. All still. The absence of noise was deafening in its own right. This was the moment the music stopped. And then 16 days after the accident, eerie, still, too still, as I poked my head through the door that led from the garage to the lower level of the condo. "Jeff, I'm home," I pronounced, just loud enough so he could hear me from the second level. It was about 2:30. Earlier that morning, I descended those same stairs while calling back, "I'll be home around 3. Now I was ascending with a sour, sick feeling when I got no response. I'd always heard his strong, booming voice, "Yo, I'm in the bathroom." The front door was locked, the air felt still, and the absence of noise was already signaling my heart that something was not right. I peeked outside, hoping he was sitting on the porch, perhaps taking a walk around the complex, emptying the trash in the workout room by the pool. Nothing. I climbed the first flight of stairs, heart and head starting to hurt, and a dreadful feeling as I saw the bathroom door next to the kitchen tightly shut. Knocking, opening ever so carefully, I saw nothing. Slowly climbing the second set of stairs, the house was so quiet, not even the cat was stirring or in sight. And my calls to Jeff continued to go unanswered. The guest room door was strangely shut. It was always left open. Slowly peering in, I saw nothing. The guest bathroom door shut. "Jeff, are you okay? I'm home." I was compelled to open the last door, even though by that time I could hardly catch my breath. One push. Something stopped me from going past the first few inches. I looked down, saw Jeff's little feet with his Adidas sandals. A little more. His legs, in his blue shorts, which he always wore to stay cool as meds left him either too hot, uncomfortable, and sweating on a daily basis. My mind was not working, my eyes were not focusing, but I finally forced myself to look up from this vision towards the sink and a large butcher knife on the counter, resting in this red pool that hours earlier had carried a beat to his heart, thoughts to his brain, air to his lungs, a pulse to his humanity. His life, like music, had stopped. Though difficult, I made the necessary funeral arrangements. The final task before me was to find the perfect article of clothing for this man so dear. My son and I made the drive to the mortuary that afternoon, clothing on my lap, clutching a pair of jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and the all-cotton perfect navy blue V-neck sweater. Sadly, per the instructions of the funeral director, a button-up collared shirt to cover his neck. It was days before I could bear to listen to music, the virtual heartbeat of my best friend. But sitting at a red light at the exact moment I felt compelled to turn on the radio again, Jim Morrison was singing, "I'm Gonna Love You Till the Stars Fall from the Sky," proof enough for me that he is safe, and that someday in the not too distant future we will be too.
Alexa Pingard.